Man, there are so many kart racers. Eminem's Kart Racing, South Park Rally, Garfield Kart, that Shrek one, and all the good ones. Kart racers have an absolutely enormous appeal. Everyone from young kids, casual players, adults who rarely play games, veteran players, or speedrunners, they cover practically every segment of the gaming audience. It's not by accident either, it's a product of their design. Let's dissect some of the parts that make up a kart racer, course design, driving mechanics, and item design, and see how different games create a layered kart racing experience that appeals to just about everybody. First up, course design. For a kart racer to be appealing, players of all skill levels need to be doing something more than just turn now, accelerate, now turn some more. More advanced players spend time thinking about things like race lines, item strategy, positioning, that kind of thing. For total newcomers though, the easiest way that a kart racer can grab a player's attention is through colorful and mind-bending courses. Modern Mario Kart is great at using the track theme to create interesting track layouts. To design a great track, you can't just create a quick circuit with a few turns and call it a day. The best tracks thrive on a healthy mix of set pieces and distinct themes that make the track memorable, to see and to play. The work of the track designers shows up in courses like Daisy Cruiser, where you blaze through the decks of a cruise liner while avoiding tables that slide around as the ship rocks back and forth. Coconut Mall, where you're bouncing through fountains, escalators, and parking lots with cars that are permanently in parking purgatory. Or Dragon Driftway, which is inspired by the sleek form of a Chinese dragon, and uses that form to create a series of smooth, snake-like turns and a bumpy section of jumps. The Sonic and Sega and All-Stars in Racing and Transformed in Knuckles series themes their tracks well too. These tracks are little love letters to the classic Sega games that they're based on. The Monkey Ball courses are laid out like actual Monkey Ball mazes, the night stage is full of elaborate callbacks to that game's boss fights. But what's more interesting is how Sonic Transform adds in a little bit of a narrative element, with scripted set pieces that change some of the courses. The Skies of Arcadia track starts with a normal driving section through a village, but on the final lap, the village is blown up and turns into a flying section. Without variety, identity, and depth, a track is just kind of forgettable. While modern track design is usually pretty strong, some earlier tracks in Mario Kart weren't very memorable. Due to technical limitations, the tracks in the Mode 7 Mario Karts couldn't be much more than flat tracks with different skyboxes. Some of Mario Kart 64's track design was hit or miss, but some of the tracks hinted at what Nintendo's approach to track design would evolve into. Bowser's Castle and DK's Jungle Parkway are intertwined with their theme, with unique sections that pair their track design with their unique settings. Bland track design might be the biggest shortcoming of another ambitious and very popular kart racer, Diddy Kong Racing. I hear people describe these tracks as just circles, and after revisiting them, I totally agree. Diddy Kong Racing has a total of 20 tracks, each tied to one of 5 generic themes, like winter, dinosaurs, the beach, medieval times, palette swaps. The tracks themselves don't feel ingrained into the themes. There isn't a real sense of identity in most of these tracks, so you could swap out the theme of one with another and it wouldn't feel out of place. Diddy Kong Racing did make up for its track design with its variety of vehicles. The cars, hovercrafts, and planes all control very differently. Tracks are playable with multiple vehicles, but most tracks in Diddy Kong Racing feel like they're really only designed with one vehicle in mind. While you can play with different vehicle types in multiplayer races, it's almost impossible to make them all feel unique without making one of the vehicles objectively better to use on any given track. The track design can't accommodate for multiple vehicles, so some end up being more fun to play than others. Diddy Kong Racing's multi-vehicle design lives on in Sonic Transformed and the modern Mario Karts. They each have sections dedicated to different vehicle types. Sonic Transformed has vehicles similar to Diddy Kong Racing with boats and aircraft. Mario Kart is more subtle with the vehicles, just changing the driving physics in the underwater and zero-gravity segments and adding in some basic maneuvering in the gliding segments. They get the benefit of the variety that each new vehicle brings, but they don't have to deal with balancing each track over 3 different vehicle types. Maybe most importantly, the on-the-fly vehicle transformations give the track designers a ton of creative freedom to come up with new and interesting track designs. And that's great. Anything that helps create interesting tracks will also help keep players interested in the game. So we have tracks, But how do kart racers design their driving mechanics to keep all kinds of players happy? Where racing sims are more about using realistic driving techniques, kart racers simplify how their vehicles handle. You can drift around corners like it's nothing, fishtailing and spinouts are barely a problem. The cognitive load of just taking a kart around the track is way lower. But just because you don't have to think that hard about kart handling, doesn't mean there isn't a technique to it. Kart racers make factors like racing lines and drifting less important, but more advanced players can still use them to get better times. And kart racers have added extra gameplay elements to reward skillful driving. Enter the mini turbo. Mini turbos are nearly universal in kart racers. Different games pick and choose from a lot of different flavors. Rocket starts, drafting, track surface features like zippers and ramps, but the most iconic might be the drift mini turbo. Drifting pulls double duty. It helps you smoothly take turns without losing much speed, but if you know what you're doing, you can also drift to build up turbos. In Mario Kart 64, Double Dash, and Mario Kart DS, these turbos would be built up by quickly turning back and forth while in the middle of a drift. More advanced players can drift all over the track, and chain together a ton of these mini turbos. This is called snaking, and it became pretty controversial in Mario Kart DS. It created an extreme skill gap in online play. You either snaked around the track, or you lost. Nintendo recognized this skill gap and considered snaking to be an unintentional exploit. From Mario Kart Wii onwards, drifting mini turbos were charged up by just holding the drift. The change made the turbo easier to pull off, but it made it harder to chain drift turbos together without going off track, which closed the skill gap a bit. Mario Kart may have taken the inspiration for the change from another classic kart racer, Crash Team Racing. When you drift in Crash Team Racing, a red and green meter builds up. By hitting L1 while the meter is red, you will release a mini turbo. Crash Team Racing also lets you gain a boost by hopping off of the apex of ramps and bumps in the terrain. With these mechanics, chaining these drift turbos together with jumps separates the novices from the veterans, while still being easy to learn. Since the Wii, Mario Kart has adopted a very similar system with tricks. Sonic Transformed also uses Mario Kart's chargeable drifting with its own version of tricks. Here, you manually perform spins and flips while airborne, but if you hit the ground in the middle of a trick, you will crash and lose any boost that had already been built up. Drifts are important and fun to do, but maybe more important to advanced players are racing lines. The problem with racing lines is that they're pretty static, and they can sometimes make the optimal strategy a bit too predictable and dull. Kart racers have shaken up the racing line idea with speed boosting collectibles. Mario Kart's coins, DKR's bananas, CTR's Wumpa Fruit. These collectibles add another strategic element that challenges players to make a choice, to either take a more optimal path, or sacrifice the ideal racing line to build up your max speed for later. The combination of these different types of speed boosting systems does wonders for the track design. The way a player thinks about the track layout becomes deeper than just the geometry of the turns. It makes players incorporate the behavior of their competitors into their decision making, like whether or not the person in front of you has already grabbed your coins. It tweaks the optimal lines and makes you think about just which path is the right one. Mini turbos and speed boosters give everyone from little kids to world champions plenty of chances to find something fun to do, and plenty of opportunities to improve the way they attack the track. Kart racers wouldn't be the same without item pickups. Bananas, shells, nitro crates, homing missiles, drones, stars, shields, coins, boosters. Items are the linchpin that lets novices play with experts without the game turning into a bloodbath. Skilled players may hate items, but items that mix luck and randomness are crucial in making the game palatable for newer players. And it's not like they turned the game into a Mario Party-esque factory of randomness. Skill still plays a big role, even if items do shake things up. Mario Kart, Crash Team Racing, and Sonic Transformed give items to players hitting an item box depending on what position they're in. Frontrunners get weaker defensive items like green shells and bananas, while players stuck in the back get huge powerful weapons to try and catch up. Blue shells to target leaders, bullet bills to zoom ahead, red shells to zero in on players ahead of you, stars to become invincible and go off-road, and lightning to slow down everyone else all contribute to Mario Kart's comeback mechanics, which prevent runaway victories as well as give less skilled players something fun to do. Sonic Transformed doesn't really have effective comeback mechanics. Supposedly powerful items like the character all-star moves don't really have that much impact, and never affect those in front. If you can get a lead in Sonic Transformed, you rarely have to fend off other players, which makes the game simpler and a little less compelling for those winning and frustrating for those losing. Diddy Kong Racing scraps random item boxes, and instead has different colored balloons that each give a particular item. These items can be upgraded up to 3 times, which in theory adds another layer of strategy. But it doesn't quite come together for one big reason. The array of weapons are not all that useful, aside from the speed boosters and homing missiles. What's considered an upgrade here is debatable. The third missile upgrade feels more like a downgrade, going from a reliable homing missile to 10 unreliable straight shot ones. Other items like the shield and oil slicks aren't much better, and it's hard to find many uses for them. Also, since Diddy Kong Racing doesn't have weapons that target frontrunners, the players in the middle are the ones left to target. The middle gets held back, and the leaders zoom ahead. If you fail to get an early lead, it's an uphill battle for the rest of the race. Diddy Kong Racing is a living counterpoint to the idea that the blue shell shouldn't exist. When done right, items help level the playing field and help keep an element of unpredictability within each race, but designers can absolutely go too far. If they're done poorly, these comeback mechanics can straight up ruin a kart racer. Mario Kart Wii went way too far with this. Items like the POW blocks, which are like a weaker lightning, mega mushrooms that are like a more powerful star, the thunder clouds that shrink you unless you can pass it on to another player, and very frequent blue shells cause way too much chaos. Too often you won't get a chance to separate yourself from others before another big item targets you. It really does turn the game into a game of luck, and is just as annoying as veteran players say it is. However, without the ability to make a comeback, the race outcome is never in doubt, which makes the race boring to play through. Comeback mechanics exist to let kids play with their parents, or casual and hardcore friends to play the game with each other, which keeps everyone entertained and helps share the fun of the kart racer with a much wider audience. Kart racers are made and broken by their course design, driving mechanics, and item behavior. Compelling courses bring in newcomers. Drifting and mini-turbos let experts puzzle out their perfect line. And a properly designed set of items keeps veterans on their toes and even lets the newbies win once in a while. Design them well, and they'll make a kart racer fun for everyone.